Hey guys, let's talk about chapter 15, so unemployment. Okay, so now before I talk about unemployment, the material, think about what is unemployment. You guys all heard this before. So the common belief is that unemployment is anybody who doesn't have a job, that's unemployment. Now we need to narrow this down to have a more precise definition for unemployment. Okay, so that's what the chapter is about. Now for unemployment, so first let's look at how unemployment is measured. So there is a department in U.S. government. It's called the Bureau of Labor Statistics. These guys, it's their job to keep track of all the economic data in the economy. So anything from your unemployment to your GDPs to your price level. So all those are capped by BLS. And then how they calculate our unemployment rate. So they will do a phone survey every month to 60,000 households. Now, anybody here ever got a phone call from them? You know what? I don't know anybody ever got a phone call from them. The reason why is because these guys, the BLS, they're still very old-fashioned, old school. So they will only call your line. They won't call your cell phone. I mean, personally, we don't even have a line anymore. So I have a cell phone, so which means our BLS will never call me. Okay, so BLS they do conduct monthly phone survey. And then each survey they will do 60,000 households. Okay, all right. And then they will only ask that this information is based on adult population who is over age 16. And the reason why we do over age 16 is because for anybody who is younger than that, they're not supposed to work, right? Imagine you find a 7-year-old who's currently having 2 jobs. That shouldn't be. Something is going wrong. Okay, so that's why unemployment is only based on adult population who is over age 16. All right. So BLS divide our unemployment into three. I mean, we divide our population into our 3 groups. The first group is called employed. So employed, they're your paid employee, people who are self-employed, and anybody who is a unpaid worker in a family business, that's called employed. By the way, guys, if you want to make money, this is what you do. Have more kids now, okay? And then once your kids grow older, hire them into your own business and don't even pay them. So in those situations, those your children, they're still employed even though they're in an unpaid family business. All right. Next is unemployed. Now let's look at this one carefully. So unemployed, therefore people who have not worked in the last 4 weeks, but they have actively looking for a job. So 2 conditions. So number 1, they don't have a job. Number 2, that they're actively looking for a job in the last 4 weeks. That's called unemployed. Now, if you are not looking for a job, then you are called not in the labor force. So anybody who is retired, anybody who is a full-time student, those are in the everybody else section, so not in the labor force. So which means our labor force is your employed plus unemployed, that is your labor force. And then guys, you're gonna see a question like this on the quiz, on the test. I'll give you some numbers and ask you what is the labor force. Just use your employed plus unemployed and that will give you a labor force. Okay, all right, next, your unemployment rate. Unemployment rate, that's your unemployed divided by labor force times 100. That's your unemployment rate. So another way to look at this, you can use your unemployed divided by employed. What is that? Employed plus unemployed times 100. That will also give you your unemployment rate. Okay, and then you have one more formula. It's your labor force participation rate. So that one will equal to your labor force divided by everybody together times 100. That will give you a labor force participation rate. Okay. All right. So this is a sample question that you might see on your quiz, on your homework, on your test. That you're gonna have employed, you have unemployed, and not in the labor force. So to find your unemployment rate, we're gonna do first find out your unemployed, which is 11.3 million, divided by labor force, which is 144.3 plus 11.3, and times 100, and that will be your unemployment rate. Now to look for your labor force participation rate, that will be, so your labor force, which is 144.3 plus 11.3 divided by everybody altogether. So 144.3 plus 11.3 plus 90.6. So altogether, it's not writing the 6. Altogether times 100. And that is your labor force participation rate, okay? So you guys can do the numbers and find out what those are. All right, let's talk about this, okay? Because this is unavoidable. So you know how people say that we have racist in the economy. I mean that's true. Anywhere you go, there's always people who are racist. But guys, at least in America, most people will try to hide it if you're racist. I mean, we're not openly racist. If you go to Europe, many people over there, they are openly racist. Especially if you go to country like Hungary, Czech Republic. Many people in countries like China and Japan and Korea in Asia, they're racist, but they don't even realize they're racist. So let me give you an example. In China, we have a name for white people. So white people in China, they're called Bai Gui. Now, Bai means white, Gui means ghost. The reason why they call Bai Gui is because in the old days, when people in China never seen white people before. So when they first see these people whose skin is very pale, they call them Bai Gui, so white ghost. And then for black people in China, they're called Hei Gui. Now again, Hei means black, and Gui means ghost, so black ghost. And also for people, so in China, when people call people from Hispanic origins, they're called amigo. Now, so what is amigo? Amigos, okay, amigos. So yeah, many people in China, they're racist, but they don't even realize it. Now let's talk about this. So in our economy, this is still not okay, but we're working on to fix it. Okay, so if you look at the unemployment rate among white male and black male, white male is only 6.1%. Black male is 14%. Now, by the way, this is September 2013, so it's about 5 years ago. So the unemployment rate for black male is much higher than white male, and also your labor force participation rate is higher for white males and lower than black male. So the black males, they're not participating, and then their unemployment rate is higher too. Now, if you look at the female number, you see the same information. So for females, black female has a higher unemployment rate, but for labor force participation rate, they're very similar. And then the black female participation rate is actually a little higher than the white male participation rate. Okay, so a couple years ago, researchers did a study. They did an experiment. There is a website. It's called monsters.com, where many companies go there to post job listings, and then people can apply for it. So submitting resumes and then schedule for interviews. So researchers did this. They get two similar resumes. So same education, same working experiences, same background. The only difference was one resume has a very white name, so like a Marianne. The other resume has a very black name, so like a Shantae or Shanera. So they were submitting both resumes to different companies, and on average, the white resume will get back about 50% more calls compared to the black resume. And the only difference was the name on the resume. Okay, so keep in mind, but don't let those things hold you back. Do the best you can. There's always opportunities out there. Okay, all right. Let's look at the next one. So for teenagers, the unemployment rate is very high, and labor force participation is lower. And the reason why, because many teenagers do not work, and also for those who do work, most companies do not like to hire teenagers, because for teenagers, they're not very stable. Well, I'm not talking about mentally. I'm talking about their stuff in their life. I mean, there's always school going on. There's always other stuff going on. So most teenagers don't hold a job for long. So that's why companies don't like to hire those teenagers. Okay. And then we have Asian people. Asians is 5.3%. Hispanics is about 9%. And the reason why the Asians has a very low unemployment rate, let me tell you why. Because many of the Asians in the economy, they're very recent immigrant, and for those immigrants, most of them they're self-employed. Now the reason why they're self-employed is not because they want to, it's because they have to. So when those immigrants first come to America, they didn't have a choice. They couldn't go for a company. Nobody would hire them. So they have to open their own business. So many of the Asian Americans, they are entrepreneurs. They open their own business, and that's why they're still employed. Okay. And then if you, I mean, think about all the business you see in your community. Look at all the Chinese restaurants owned by Chinese, right? All the Japanese restaurants owned by Chinese, all the Korean restaurants owned by Chinese, all the subways owned by Chinese. So we do own a lot of restaurants, and then you have all the gas stations owned by Pakistanis, and then all the dry cleaners owned by Koreans, all the nail salon owned by Vietnamese. So we do own a lot of business, and the reason why is, again, it's not because that we want to, and in most situations because we have to. That there's not that many opportunities out there for new immigrants. Okay, all right. This one's important. So it's your unemployment rate and labor force participation rate broken down by different education level. So one trend you should notice that the more education you have, the lower the unemployment rate is, and also the higher the labor force participation rate. So that's why guys always get a good education, because the more education you have, the better education you have, the more opportunity you have in the economy. And especially in our today's economy, many of the jobs that requires at least a bachelor degree. So you guys finish your school. Okay, so finish school, get a bachelor degree. If you can go further, get a master, but don't get a PhD. Okay, so PhD, because once you get a PhD, your career is very narrowed down now. So you can only apply for a couple of jobs out there. So I try to keep your options open. So before you go for PhD, get a master first and see what happens. Okay. All right. This is important. So this shows you the labor force participation rate between males and females. So in the 1950s, the male participation rate was more than 85%, but the female participation rate was just about 35%. So any idea why was the male number so high and female number so low? Well, it's because in the old days, in 1950s, the norm was that women do not work, and that you will only work before getting married. So for many of the people over here, the 35%, most of these people, they're unmarried female. And once they're married, they don't work anymore. And then also in the old days, notice this trend over here. The male number has been going down. The female number has been going up. So they're converging. And the reason why they're converging is that our economy, U.S. economy, is going through a fundamental change. It has been going on for the last 40 years or so. So many of the male-dominated professions, they're just not there anymore. So auto workers, steel makers, they're just not there anymore. But the new professions in the economy, there many of them, they're female-dominated. So for example, nurses, they're female-dominated, and there's a higher demand for nurses. Okay, so because of the change economy, that's why you see the male and female number has been converging for the last 40 years. Now, notice this over here. That both went down about, what is that, 2008 or so. So the reason why both went down is recession. So economy was very slow. People couldn't, they don't look for a job. So they're all out of labor force. Okay. All right, so now what's a discouraged worker? So discouraged worker is anybody who want to work but decide to stop looking for a job. Now remember, to be called unemployed, you must be actively looking for a job. The moment you stop looking for a job, you are not in the labor force anymore. You are called discouraged worker. So for those discouraged workers, they will distort your unemployment rate. So for unemployment rate, whenever it's increasing, it doesn't always mean the economy is bad. And whenever it's decreasing, doesn't always mean the economy is getting better. So let me give you an example. Suppose for our economy, let's say we have, give me a blank. 10 people. And we have 8 working, 2 unemployed. So our current unemployment rate, that'll be 2 divided by 2 plus 8. That's a 20%. Now imagine next week or next month, one person decides stop looking for a job. So stop looking. And then the other one person is still looking for a job. So our new unemployment rate, there will be one person who is currently unemployed divided by A plus 1. That's about 11%. So once this happens, our unemployment rate goes down, but does that mean the economy is getting better? Not really, because you still only have 8 people working. So this one person who stopped looking for a job, this person is called a discouraged worker who want to work but decide to stop looking for a job because they're discouraged. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Not important. Let's skip all this. Not important, guys. Okay. This is important. So know what's the natural rate of unemployment. So the natural unemployment. This is talking about how good the economy is. When the economy is very very good, you will still have unemployment, and that rate is called a natural unemployment. So for this natural unemployment is equal to the structural and frictional together. And I'm going to talk about what that is. Okay. So first, know what is the cyclical unemployment. Now, this is probably the most important type of unemployment we study in the economy. And the reason why, because this will indicate how good the economy is. Now, remember, I probably haven't told you guys yet, there's something called a business cycle. So for the economy, it's very much like our 4 seasons. We have spring, fall, summer, winter, and then the temperature goes up and down. For your economy, we have the same thing. It's called a business cycle. So what that does, whenever it's getting better, we call it expansion. At the top, it's called a peak. When it's going down, it's called recession. At the bottom, it's called a trough. So whenever the economy is going down, we have a recession. Economy slows down. People don't have jobs anymore, and that is called a cyclical unemployment. So dealing with the change in our business cycles whenever we have recession. Okay. Can skip this. Oh, by the way, so notice this unemployment is going down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So whenever up and down, so whenever it's increasing, whenever the unemployment is increasing, that's a recession. Notice over here, that's your 2008 recession. Okay, that's your early 2002 recession. This is the 1992 recession. Look at this recession, right? Recession. So every time the unemployment is higher, that's a recession. Okay. All right, so know what's a frictional unemployment. Now, guys, do not write down this. That's not a good definition. Okay. Let me give you a better definition. So, frictional unemployment is anybody who decide to quit due to personal reasons. That's your frictional unemployment. So, imagine right now you're having your dream job. Okay. So, whatever that is. So, you have a dream job and you don't want to leave, but you have a manager who is Chinese, and this guy's an asshole. He pick on you all day long, all day long. I mean, wouldn't you just want to quit one day and then look for next job? Right? So that will happen. Many people do that. So when you quit before you find your next job, that's called a frictional unemployment. And then also imagine that you fall in love with your girlfriend, boyfriend, and you decide to go to their city. So let's say you're going to move to San Antonio. No, don't go to San Antonio. There's nothing there. Okay, never go to San Antonio. Never go to El Paso. There's nothing there. So let's say you're gonna go to LA, right? So you're gonna go to move to LA. When you go to LA, before you find the next job, so this little relocation before you find the next job, that's called a frictional unemployment. So unemployment due to personal reasons. And then next, it's called structural unemployment. Okay. Let me give you a better definition for that too. So don't write this down because this is not a good definition. So for structural employment, it's whenever there's a mismatch between the qualification of the candidate and the requirement of the profession. So a mismatch between the qualification of the candidate and the requirement of the profession. So imagine right now in Houston, we have opening for 10 doctors. At the same time, we have 10 engineers who's on a job, right? 10 and 10, but they don't match because your engineers don't qualify to be doctors. So that's why that's called a structural unemployment. Now, whenever this happens, this this is called long-term unemployment because for those workers who are in the structural employment, their job is just not there anymore. So it will be almost impossible for them to find a job again. Right now, if you look at the West Virginia economy, many of the coal miners, they're long-term unemployed. They're called structural unemployed. Okay. All right. Let's skip this. That's not really important. All right. So know what's an unemployment insurance? unemployment insurance is whenever a person is out of job, so due to not their own fault. So if you're getting laid off from work because the economy is slow, or if your company closed down, you can apply for unemployment insurance. But to receive unemployment insurance, no, it's not. It's for one, it's not that much money. It only the maximum benefit right now in Texas is only $1,800 per month. So and also you can only receive the money for 6 months. It will expire after 6 months, and then during these 6 months, you have to actively looking for a job, because the moment you stop looking for a job, you don't get the benefit anymore. Okay. Okay, let's keep going. Not important. Not important. No, it's a union. Union is a worker association where workers can get together and then bargain with employers over wage, benefit, and then working conditions. You guys probably know this before in your US history class. You probably heard a book called The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. So The Jungle was talk about the meat packing industry back in 1930s. So in those years, those workers in the meat packing industry, they're all new immigrants. So they don't know any right. The pay is very low, and they're also working in very dangerous working conditions. So once this book was published, many of those workers from a union, so gather together, and then it's called collective bargaining with the employer, and then wage went up, and also your working condition get better. Okay, so that's a union. Let me see what else we can talk about. Also known as efficiency wage. So efficiency wage is the idea that companies will voluntarily pay above minimum wage to boost worker productivity. So remember, the goal for a company is to maximize profit. And the common belief is that we should pay workers as little as possible, because we can save money on cost and therefore profit goes higher. But efficiency wage says that if you pay a little more than the minimum, you can retain the better employees and also reduce your training cost. Now, Walmart did it. So a couple years ago, Walmart just announced a couple years ago, they announced that they will increase how much the pay is in the store. So I think today, for anybody who is starting at Walmart, the starting pay at Walmart is $10.10. So it's pretty. I mean, it's not like a crazy money, but it's not bad. It's better than $7.25. So when this first happened, many investors believe that this is a wrong decision. This will cause Walmart to lose money. But for the last 2 years, Walmart's profit has been increasing. And the reason why that is because your employees, they like to getting paid more. When you do pay them more, they tend to stay at the job. So you do keep the better employees in the company, and also you reduce your turnover ratio. So less people leave the company, less training for new employees, so lower cost for companies. Okay, that's called efficiency wage. All right, let me see what else. I think that's it. Oh, that's it. Okay, so guys, that's it for unemployment. Have any question? Let me know. So again, this is not basically know how to find an unemployment rate, how to find a labor force participation rate, and then you'll be good. Okay. All right, guys. I will show you the next video sometime later. All right. Bye bye.